Let's talk more about this now with Magistrate Hein Louw. He's part of an organisation that had in fact gone to court to try and get government to quickly, speedily implement a 3.8% increase for public office bearers. Now the President has announced 3%. A very good evening to you, so grateful for your time. So 3.8% is what you would have wanted implemented as soon as possible. Now the President says 3% is all government can pay. Do you accept this increase?
Thank you, Temekile. Welcome. Thank you for having us, and evening to all your viewers. No, the Association of Regional Magistrates is definitely not in favour of a 3% increase. We have insisted and requested an increase well in excess of the 3.8% that was recommended, on the basis that the inflation rate is at that stage of the recommendation was well on its way to 7%. So no, our members are certainly not in favour of the 3% or even the 3.8% for that matter.
So what happens now then? Because in his letter or in the announcement, the presidency said one of the reasons why this decision has been taken, that it's not the 3.8% increase that will be paid, but the 3% is that there are difficult economic conditions. The economic situation is tough for people all round in the country, and that is why a lower than expected pay rise has now been granted. Where does that leave you? What will you do next?
Temekile, I'm constrained by the fact that the action that we've taken is still before the High Court. And my comments must be construed as general comments and not specific to the action that we've taken. We have undertook to take the Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers recommendation on review. So we will be heading to court and review that recommendation. The recommendation is flawed in our view, on three major points. Firstly, it is exceedingly late. It has been so over several years. They have not complied with the legislative obligations. And thirdly, they have got the percentage of inflation wrong. And therefore, the President did not get the right recommendation, and therefore the Parliament that has to approve or disapprove is in an unenvious position where they have not received the correct information. So from the Association of Regional Magistrates, this is only but part one of a series of litigations.
What say you, though, to people who will listen to this conversation and say, well, no sector in this country that has been asking for a pay rise has been given what it was demanding, because either companies or the government are simply unable to match the demands of labour, and therefore you basically have to suck it up and hope for better financial times?
That is a good point. One must remember that public office bearers and the judiciary in general have not been receiving any inflation-related increases for a very long time. I bear no brief for judges, but they have been they are over 20% lower than inflation over the past years. The regional magistrates are in a similar position where we have received lower than inflation rate since 2011. So we cannot do any other paid remuneration. We are salary takers. We do not have the we can't negotiate salaries. We make an input, and then we are informed of this is what that the IRC will pay us or recommend to us. And we think that is wholly unfair.
And the average salary, am I right, by I think a News 24 calculation when a 2022 increase of 3% was announced was around just under 1.1 million rand per annum. How much do you think would be a fair figure to pay magistrates in South Africa?
There is a major review underway, but has been underway for a period of close on 5 years, and I can safely say substantially more than that. One must remember that we are highly trained professional legal persons, and the market dictates that amount substantially higher, possibly a 20 or 30% higher currently is not out of the question, although that is not our demand. We are merely seeking that all the factors that the legislation inquires or needs to be taken into consideration is taken into consideration.
And what is the ultimate figure? What would basically now be acceptable for you, considering that, yes, you say you're highly skilled professionals, unable to take on other work outside of your work in the courts, but also that you need this money, but government says it does not have much to give?
That is a question that is not easily answerable. I would suggest that about 1.3 million for magistrates and about 1.5 million for regional magistrates is acceptable, and that is what the last recommendations were. But it was not made final, it was not implemented, and as such, it is still work in progress according to the IRC, and obviously they have their methodology, which we do not agree with, but in that line. So it is between a 20 and 30% increase.
Mm-hmm. And magistrates, yes, while you are paid the least of the presiding officers through our court system, are by no means poor people in the South African context, right? But given where things stand, where you say you've been given below inflation increases successively over the past decade and a bit, what are the options? What can you do without the sort of money that you're asking for at this point in order to make sure that your lives and livelihoods do not suffer?
Well, we have to go to court, and that is the only thing that we can do. The Constitutional Court already in 2002 stated that we should not embark on industrial action. The Constitutional Court also stated in 2011 that regional magistrates, because of the increase in workload and so forth, must be, has absorbed a number of courts' work and should be looked after, so to speak. That has not happened since 2011. Unfortunately, as I said, I'm constrained by the action that we've taken in my comments. I hope that serves or satisfies you.
Magistrate Hein Louw, thank you so much for speaking to us. The magistrate is with the Association of Regional Magistrates of Southern Africa. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.